Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Stefan Bossuwé, for taking time to come to our chapter. We're so excited to learn from you today. My name is Randy Innes. I'm the president of the IIBA South Florida Chapter. And on behalf of the chapter, we want to welcome you to today's event. It's wonderful that we have so many people joining from all over the world. We're excited to hear from Stefan, and thank you for joining us. This meeting, this event will be recorded, so just want to let you all know that as well. So here's today's agenda. We're going to get started shortly. I'm going to introduce the speaker, and then Stefan Bossuwé will present on holistic business analysis. Then we'll have a Q&A session, and we'll have closing remarks following. Please use the chat feature here in our Zoom meeting to share your thoughts, questions, and feedback throughout the session. We love hearing from you. We may not respond right away, but we will have a Q&A session, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions during the session if we're able to manage that. So say hello to Stefan Bossuwé.
Hi.
Hello. Passionate about business analysis, Stefan founded the IIBA Brussels chapter in 2009 with a small group of BA enthusiasts, where he was appointed to chapter president, which he remained for 10 years, after which he became the chapter's ambassador for another 5 years. In 2012, he became the first CBAP in Belgium, plus Luxembourg, with 30 plus years of professional experience in various roles in more than 20 different business domains. Stefan assists organizations in increasing their BA maturity with coaching, introducing and deploying methodologies, and providing guidance on best practices. Stefan is very driven on promoting business analysis and shares his knowledge and experience as a speaker at various international conferences and seminars. As such, he's one of the first content providers of the IIBA Knowledge Hub and is the originator of the successful case-oriented Babok study group approach used by many IIBA chapters, which he facilitated for 7 years at the IIBA Brussels chapter. It's been a pleasure meeting Stefan in preparation for this webinar, and I am excited to learn from him today. Without further delay, please join me in welcoming Stefan Bossuwé. Stefan, over to you.
Thank you, Randy. And now it's my turn to share. Okay. There. You have
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Perfect.
Then start sharing. Yep, there you go.
Okay.
And then I think people can see my presentation.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks for this great introduction. If you have urgent questions or non-urgent questions, put them in the chat. Randy will interrupt me because I can't see the chat and present at the same time, sadly, but that's the way it is. It's a pleasure to be here, and great to see a few familiar names on the list. Before I start presenting, I could have a look on the attendees and so on. Well, yeah, let's hit it. Okay, first little introduction, although Randy already gave a very good one, but I'm going to add a few more bits and pieces on there. Some definition concepts and how to apply and practice conclusion Q&A. But we've got sufficient time. So we're going to do it interactive, which is if you have an urgent question, put it in the chat. And you really want urgent, you say urgent. So you can interrupt, and then we'll see what we get. And if I feel like, okay, but now we have to put out the pace, then well, we're not going to interrupt that fast anymore. So Randy will interrupt me if there's an urgent question. Okay, let's agree on that. Okay, well, I think Randy gave already a very good presentation about who I am. Let's say that the most important on this slide is that I'm very passionate about business analysis, and I spend much of my time promoting the business analysis mindset, which I'm doing today. I'm trying to get everyone up to pace, empower BAs in getting their job better done. Okay. About the session, well, yeah, that's something you can find on the website because that's a copy paste. And also intended for BAs, both experienced and starters. People, organizations interested in business analysis, decision makers that want to improve their business. And well, I have given this even for PMs and they manage, so I'm sure you will do fine. Okay, some definition and concepts. Well, up to 2022, the IIBA had a core purpose instead of vision, mission, goals, objectives. That was one which was on their website if you clicked about IIBA until 2022. And I thought that it stuck with me. And they had it for about 5, 6, 7 years, this, to unite a community of professionals to create better business outcomes. Why? Why do I find this interesting? Well, let's go to the next slide. How do I see the core purpose of business analysis? I think is to facilitate and or co-create better business outcomes. So we have a definition in the BABOK, which I'll show you within a few slides about what business analysis. But I think you can define a role or a passion or a mindset better with what the outcome is, what its purpose is. And I feel that business analysis can't be better defined by that the goal of the business analysis is to facilitate and or co-create better business outcomes. We don't create better business outcomes. We do that together with the business. So it's always co-create, but we facilitate the business to have better business outcomes. So that's what I believe. It's my personal opinion, and you can reject that, but let's continue, and we'll do that maybe at the end if you don't agree, okay? Well, I don't have to explain what the BABOK is. So that's it. April 2015, 10 years old, far too old, but that's my personal opinion. I think we should have been at the BABOK version 4 already 5 years ago, to be honest, but that's another story. And also the BA standard. We had the first version in 2022. And we had a second version beginning of this year. And I do this explicit mention the two versions because they removed something out of version 1, which I still want to show, which I think is very relevant and important. So, but I will explicitly say when it's version 1 or version 2, okay? Okay, now, the BA standard, foundation of professional business analysis, anyway. Okay. Definition of business analysis according to the BABOK. Yep, that's the one you see and you see those two in the BABOK. And the practice of enabling change in an organization by defining needs and recommending solutions, delivering value to stakeholders. And yeah, deliver value. I have one problem with those. Well, it's a different view angle from the definition. What I have a problem with this is we don't deliver value. We, business analysts, well, the value is a deliverable, an analysis or whatever, but we don't deliver business value. And that's what, in fact, it wants to say here. We don't deliver business value. For example, imagine that we have a project and we develop, we deliver together with a team of developers a great system, a great tool, a great application, and no one wants to use it. No value is created. Huh? No business value is created if the stakeholders don't prefer not to use it. So we don't deliver value. No, that's just something I disagree with this definition. But anyway, you can do business analysis, of course, at the strategic, tactical, and operational level. And strategic is something very interesting because I have another presentation about strategic business analysis, which I gave 2 weeks ago in Warsaw, in Poland. And the people that attended were so like, oh, interesting. What is holistic business analysis? And some of them might attend today. So that's what I mean. But strategic business analysis, a lot of people don't feel that we are capable. No, we have the perfect mindset to do strategic business analysis. We are but that's another story, but we'll get back to that maybe at the end. But I believe that we're very good facilitators to improve an organization's strategy. And then, maybe performed within the boundaries of project or throughout enterprise evolution. and continuous improvement. So we all know that it's business analysis. Most of us do it within the boundaries of a project. But me personally, the last few years, I've done most of my business analysis pre-project. I know BAs who never work at projects. They do business process improvement, never doing a project, and that's their continuous job from day to day, from morning till the evening. Business process improvement or business architecture. It's also a form of business analysis. So it's not always throughout the project. Just mention. Then we come to holism. So we have now defined business analysis with this beautiful definition, or the one that I gave, co-creating and facilitating better business outcomes. Now, what is holism? Holism, it comes from the Greek word holos, which means all, whole, entire. And in fact, it's a system, it's a concept that systems should be viewed as wholes and as a collection of its parts. Wholes and collection of its parts. So what does that mean? Okay, if you look at your car, you see your beautiful car over there. Even if it's the most horrible, it's a beautiful car. You look at it and you don't say to the people, look at there's my engine with a steering wheel and wheels and a fuel tank or a battery. No, you say, there is my car. There's my car. And at the same time, you're very well aware there's a steering wheel, there's an engine, there's a battery, or there's a fuel tank, because if you don't fill it up or recharge it, you won't be driving for a long time, is it? So you're very well aware with your car. You look in a holistic way to your car. Most of us do. So why don't we do that in our job? So as such, an organization should be seen as a whole, and at the same time, a collection of employees, business domains, customers, processes, systems, etc., etc. So if you do something as a business analyst, you should be very well aware what is the impact of your job or what you're delivering on the whole organization or other parts of the organization. So what's the impact? Okay? So the holistic BA mindset is like, what is the impact of what we're doing on the rest of the organization and the whole organization? Okay. And one thing, I shouldn't be presenting holistic business analysis, but because I believe if you don't use a holistic mindset during your business analysis, how good is your business analysis then? Ask yourself that question. That's personal opinion. Yep. Now, if you go into the BABOK and the BA standards, there is one model. Even in the back of BABOK, if you have the PDF version and you look holism or holistic, I can't remember, and the first moment that it stops in your document, it's at the BACCM, the Business Analyst Core Concept Model. A lot of you probably know it very well. It's a fundamental concept framework, fundamental, each of those core concepts, but each of those core concepts is defined by the other 5 and can only be fully understood until all the concepts are understood. So many of you are very well aware about needs, stakeholders, and solutions, but maybe not about the change that is upcoming or the value that is facilitated or co-created or the context. But the thing is, if you don't touch a bit of each of those 6, you might not very well understand your solution or your needs or your stakeholders. It's not only 6 little circles, it also have 15 relationships. All those lines are relationships. So both are important, and the core concepts and the relationships. And they're equally important. Stakeholders don't like to hear this, but that's the truth. It's the truth. Contexts are as important as stakeholders, as needs, as solutions, as changes. And the relevance from enterprise strategy to tactical implementation. Now, at this moment, I should ask Randy, but it might not work. So there is this poll. I would like to know, yes, it's working. Yes, yes, yes. So I would like to know, and you can click more of them, which of those following business BA core concepts have you already experienced with? So please click more um, and tell you which of those 6 have you worked with. And it can be more than one. And if preferably it's all 6, but please be honest. Don't brag or so, but let me know on which of those core concepts you already have experience with. So shoot. Let's give each one of you half a minute or so. Huh? Okay, Randy, how many percent are we now? There you go. So change. Wow. Wow. Stakeholders, needs, value, solutions. Okay, okay, okay. And it's not a surprise, although I'm very surprised about the change. But perfect, because everything that we do as a BA is to facilitate change. We're not doing a project for like, oh, that was nice, that was interesting. So yeah, good. Value. Now, how many of you have worked with value? And those who have probably have done most of the time customer value. But what about the value that is there, a value proposition, I would even say, for the people in the back office? Because if they're not happy, they might leave. And then at the end, you don't have a good value proposition anymore for the customers. Okay. And then context is the least. It's about value. And that's difficult. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Good. Go back. BACCM. Go for an example. You see already 3 of those dimensions, stakeholder, needs, and context. And we're going to have a look at the UK economy. Why the UK economy? Okay, first, which stakeholders do you have? Consumers, merchants, manufacturers, government. What kind of needs do they have? Easy access to goods, good price quality, good income. Yeah, for an economy, I think that's very relevant. But same for the merchants and manufacturers. Yeah, but the same. And for the government also, but they have a few additional needs. They want to have more control over trade deals, control of legislations. And there's also an implicit one, and that's the Good Friday Agreement. That's about the Irish border. Some people might have heard that there's something with between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK. So there's a border in. It's a bit complicated. I think it's not, but it will take us too far. Anyway, so how were things going when the UK was inside the EU back in the days? They were doing fine. Things were going fine. They were happy. People were earning good money, good price quality, easy access to goods. Things were going fine, except for the control over trade deals and legislation. Because for trade deals, they had to agree with 26 other EU countries to have a trade deal with, for example, India or the United States or whatever. And the same with legislation. So the legislation, EU legislation is limited. It's not about everything, but also they had to agree with 26 other countries. And they didn't like that. Okay, fair enough. So they wanted to do Brexit. During that transition period, things were still going. They had a transition period about 1 year. Things were going fine, except the control of the trade deals. Like, yeah, well, they were no longer sitting at the table with negotiating a trade deal. It was at 26 other countries, so the control was nada. But if there was a new trade deal, they had to use that trade deal when doing trade with India or China, whatever. Legislation, that was a blur. So the thinking emoji. Now, so what happened when the Brexit occurred? Well, things were not going very well. And still today, they still feel the impact of the Brexit. But then you look at like, oh, but they did want to change the control over trade deals. And still it's not going very well. Well, that's the funny story about it. Everyone warned them, you're not going to have better control. Well, they did. But imagine you have the EU, economy about 500 million people, and they negotiate with India, more than a billion people. Okay, they have some leverage because it's an economy of 500 million people in the EU. Now, imagine that the UK goes to India. Hey, we are an economy of 50, 60 million, one tenth of the EU. So, what kind of leverage do you think UK has? Not that much anymore. So, okay, they could control from their side and didn't have to deal with 26 other opinions, but they didn't have the leverage anymore. So, they ended up having a worse situation. So, why? Well, you see, three dimensions, stakeholders' needs, we change the context, and this is the value, the perceived value. Okay, so four dimensions. In 2018, before there was any agreement, I had a workshop in the UK, in London, the big BA conference in London. And we did, this was the result of this exercise. But at that moment, they spoke about a soft Brexit or a hard Brexit. And this is what happened. So we, as BAs, could predict exactly what would be going on. So the thing is, we can very well participate at a strategic level or even a political level. Okay. Good enough for the example. Okay, requirements. So we have the BA standard requirements classification, and we have the definition of requirements, usable representation of a need. I got that. I understand. And it focuses on understanding what kind of value could be delivered, so value proposition, when fulfilled. Okay, that's a requirement. And now we are getting to the other pole, and here are the questions. So the BA standard describes a number of requirement categories, some of them having subcategories. Which one of the following is not on that list? Okay, so which one is not mentioned in the BA standard? Business requirements, stakeholder requirements, user requirements, or transition requirements? Come on, shoot. Half a minute. Half a minute. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. How is it going, Randy? Have you seen the percentages?
Yeah, we're getting up there, about halfway.
Okay.
Half people answered.
Don't be shy, eh? Don't be shy over there. Come on. Which one is not in the BA standard nor in the bubble?
Okay, I'm at about 66 of 73% now.
Okay, still a few haven't replied. Come on. No guessing. No, no, no. Don't take the bubble in your hand. No, 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 no. Come on. Okay, close it.
80%. Okay, there you go.
Let's close it. No, don't show the results. Don't show the results. Okay, because
Okay,
we're first going
sounds
to.
good.
So first of all, business requirements. I hope no one clicked that one. Business requirements. It explains why a change is going to be initiated. It can apply to the whole of an enterprise, a business area, for example, HR or finance, or a specific initiative like GDPR or sustainability, whatever. Okay, an example. Oh yeah, the key word is why, which I said it describes why change has been initiated. As you can see, it's both in the BA standard as in the public. And example, as a leading food retailer, we want to create new business by. Okay, you can read it. You get those on slide. Cares about people with food constraint. Why are we going to do this? We want to create new business. This is the why. We want to create new business, and we explain a little bit more about the details. So people with good food constraints, that can be medical, allergies or intolerances, or religious, kosher, halal, or maybe personal conviction, vegetarian, vegan, huh? Can be for several reasons, but food constraints. That's the story we're going to take. Okay. Another one is stakeholder requirements. And in fact, you get those business requirements, but how do they reflect to the stakeholder requirements? What do those stakeholders want? The what? Right? Okay, if we continue that example, as a consumer with food allergies, I've got some intolerances. It's not an allergy, but okay. I want to find effortlessly recipes that take those food allergies into account so that I can enjoy the preparation of a meal instead of focusing on my restrictions. So each time to look at the package or a recipe. So I don't want to spend time looking at my limitations, my food limitations, but I want to be joy to take the joy of a recipe and make a meal and whatever. So those are stakeholder requirements, and you can maybe recognize the user story, but no. The user story. I call them stakeholder stories, but user story is a user is always in relations to a solution. But we can have also stakeholder stories. I like stakeholder stories because it tells who the stakeholder is, what stakeholder wants, and there's already why that stakeholder wants something. So stakeholder requirements are a bit of translation of the business requirements to the stakeholders. Okay. Another thing is stakeholder requirements can conflict. Whereas business requirements, they should not conflict. You only have a few of them. If they conflict, run away, because then you're in trouble. You're in deep shit. Stakeholders can conflict, and we as BAs, we should be there to find compromises between the different stakeholders having conflicting requirements. Okay, so that's where we're good at, where we can be good at. Then we have solution requirements, capabilities, qualities of a solution. We know functional requirements, non-functional requirements. Another way to present is user stories, as I just mentioned, but that's really for a solution. If we continue the same, it's how. How are we going to make sure that what the stakeholders needs is met? It's the how. Okay, so let's create a website where the consumer can create an account with where he or she can or them can predefine a food profile, easily find recipes that meet the food profile, map the recipes with our products, make a shopping list, and in your food profile you can say like, oh, I've got some intolerances for dairy products, but peanut, no way. So once in a while I can eat some dairy or drink some dairy, but I can't eat peanut. I've got a very severe peanut. So you can even give some weight to a limitation, to a constraint. A non-functional is the website should be secure and not expensive. Okay. Transition requirements, very different towards the other ones because they're only temporary. It's from as is to be. And well, keyword is, of course, change. And you see, it can be training, for example, data conversion. So it can be at a stakeholder level, but can also be at a technical level, which is not for us BAs, but for example, a database migration. That's also a kind of transition. But also training, but that's the tricky one. Training as a transition requirement is before we had PeopleSoft, now we're going to Microsoft Dynamics. Scenario A with PeopleSoft, we did this way. Now with we do scenario A in Microsoft Dynamics this way. So that's a training for in the format of transition requirements. But now, if new people arrive in the company and they only know the Dynamics solution, and you give a training like, hey, scenario A, we have to do it that way. It doesn't matter for them how it was before. They didn't know that for previous system. That's a solution requirement. So a training for newcomers is a solution requirement. A training for people who have to make the transition from an old system to a new system, those are transition requirements. For example, a marketing campaign to promote a new website that will be available on smartphone, tablet, and computer with the food constraint stuff. Okay? Now, you always have seen BA standard and BABEL. But now we have sustainability requirements, which were there in the version 1 of the BA standard, but no longer the version 2, which I find very sad, very, very, very sad, because I think we have to go to a sustainable future. And I thought that was a big mistake of IIBA to scrap them from the BA standard. But that's my personal opinion. So, in fact, sustainability requirements is a translation of a sustainability strategy into requirements. Keywords: inclusion and well-being. Well-being of the planet, of animals, of us. Inclusion, don't leave anyone behind. Sustainability has two dimensions: the planetary and the social dimension. So it's both inclusion and well-being. Inclusion also from animals and whatever. That's for me sustainability. As a leading food retailer wanting to contribute to a sustainable future, we want to minimize as much as possible the ecological footprint of the whole organization, including our products, and make sure our products are created and distributed in social and ethical conditions. Those could be, in our story that we had before, sustainability requirements. Okay. So, how do they relate to each other? So, business requirements, you only have a few, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, that's already a lot. So, you get only a few of them. But we know that they relate to stakeholder requirements. Translation to the business requirements to the different stakeholders. And stakeholders are that you can implement them with a solution. Okay. We had transition requirements. You can have them at a stakeholder level or a solution level and also technical level, but that's not part of our story here. So transition requirements, they can have some impact on our relationship with requirements at stakeholder or solution level. And sustainability requirements can relate also even to business requirements. I'm going to give an example of that. Okay. So lots of lines, lots of relationships, but that's how they relate to each other. So if we don't have the sustainability requirements anymore, then it's this. But this is the one we had the sustainability requirements. How could that translate to another set of business requirements? As a leading food retailer wanting to contribute to sustainable food, we want to inspire our customers to purchase more sustainability products. That could be a business requirement. And as a stakeholder requirement, as a conscious consumer wanting to contribute to a sustainable future, I want to purchase products with a minimal ecological footprint and produced and distributed in good social and ethical conditions for the people involved in the whole chain. And that can be then translated in design a sustainability score, which is environmental, ecological, social, ethical of our products. That has to be in collaboration with the partner or the supply chain and show alternative products ranked on the sustainability score, for example. You can rank it on price. For example, I want to have milk. So which is cheapest or which one is the most sustainable? But you can have that choice. And that's an implicit. Okay. This is the BABOK requirements classification scheme. This is the one which is in the BA standard version 2. The keywords come from me because that was what I did in the knowledge shop. I introduced those keywords and they took it over in the BA standard. So I'm very proud to see those in the version 2 of the BA standards, except I'm missing the sustainability requirements. And that's how they relate because the sustainability requirements has a link with all of them. Okay. So, which one was not there? User requirements. User requirements are not mentioned in the BA standard, and some people say, but users are stakeholders. Yeah, but only with regards to a solution. User requirements are in fact a specific special version or subset of solution requirements. So what did we have? Can you show the results? Most people thought transition requirements is not on the BABOK, and some of them use requirements. Luckily, business and stakeholder requirements. Yes, luckily. But transition requirements, I think people didn't capture very well chapter 2 of the BABOK or chapter whatever in the BA standards. Anyway, carry on. How to apply in practice, 20 minutes to go. So, many of you might have heard about customer journey or customer experience exercise. The person which is central to a customer journey, a customer experience, is of course the customer. So what's the first thing a customer wants to do if we were selling books? Well, imagine you're going to a bookstore. What's the first thing you're going to do? Go through the shelves. You want to see which books they sell. At a certain moment, you say like, I want those 2 books. My credit card, $100. Fine. Here's your book. That's it. That's a customer journey. Nothing more, nothing less. That's a bit boring, but anyway, most of the time it's a customer experience exercise. But for customer experience, you also have to know the customer journey. So you often do them together. You want to improve the experience so that the customer comes back or sticks with you. For example, if you have if you're a member or you have a subscription, so that you want to stay with them. So therefore, the customer experience should be better, improved. That's the reason you do customer experience exercises. So, but what happens when we zoom out? So we still have this customer, browse books. Oh, we just started. We don't have books. How are we going to get books? How are we going to get books? I need something. Are we going to create themselves? No. We're just starting. We're not going to create books. Let's have a partner for that. Let's find a book publisher who wants to sell books. Okay. Now we have books. Customer can go through books and says like, those 2 books, $100. Here's my credit card. Ooh, platinum. Nice. American Express. Ooh, nice. But I can't tell from looking at that card if the $100 is covered. I need someone to tell me that with this American Express Platinum card, you can, the customer can make this purchase. So I need someone to tell me. So a credit card issuer is someone who is a good participant partner to do that. So making a credit authorization request, fine, happy flow. It's okay. Here's your book. Okay. Interesting. So that's what happens. But once in a while, this book publisher gives me a list of new book titles coming out next month. What in heaven's name can I do with it? Maybe I should send out a mailing to tell my customers or people who have bought something with me what new book titles are coming out. Maybe even, okay, this person always purchased science fiction, so only the science fiction titles, for example. Huh? Okay. Interesting. So a customer journey, customer experience exercise is an excellent starting point, but it doesn't stop there. In fact, this is called a business context model. It tells you the business scope. For example, we were willing to get our books from somewhere else because we just started, we're not going to do it ourselves. So we decided, the business scope, that we're not going to make the books ourselves, that we're going to look for a partner. We did the same with credit card issuer, but the thing is, making books is close to work of selling books, but I've worked also for a credit card issuer. Remember, I've worked in more than 20 different industries, and one of them was also doing credit card issuing. You don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that. So you have to look for a partner who can tell you that a purchase can be made with a credit card or debit card in front of you. So That's called a business scope. If you translate that business scope into a matrix, you can see, so for example, this is the work. They call that the work. And those are the adjacent systems. Here you have all the control. You don't have the control what they are doing. You only have some control of how they interact with you. They call them the adjacent systems, which is a bit weird name, but that's how it's called. But let's call them the external stakeholders that are relevant for your business. Huh? I think that's much better. So, but you can't control what happens in their head or how they do this credit card issue, but you have to have some control about how they interact with you. You have control what's happening. Now, if you translate this into some matrix, you see business events. A business event is something that happens outside with an impact inside. So this person is browsing books, you have to provide something. Or something that happens from the inside with impact on the outside. Those are business events. And then you have business services. Well, a business services is a response to a business event. That's it. That's it. How do you respond to a specific business event? The business events that you do from the that you start from, you control. The ones that come outside, you don't control. You can expect them, for example, monthly, but you can't control them. Okay? So for example, customer looks for a new book. Let's provide a book catalog. Customer wants to make a purchase. Then you have 4 arrows. Purchase requests, credit authorization request, credit authorization, purchase confirmation. And then the book delivery, but that can happen afterwards. I chose it's an online store, so the book delivery happens afterwards. It's not in one go. Okay. Let's take this one. Let's have a look at it. So the books are ready to ship. In the morning, those books are ready to ship for the following 10, 15 customers. Let's process the orders and deliver the books. Okay, let's dive into detail. So there is a business process behind it. Almost all the business services have business process behind it, but not always. For example, a book catalog is not a process, but most of the business services have a process behind it. And let's look at this one. So a business processes for the business service, delivering business service, process orders plus deliver books, that service, it would look something like this. See, there is no solution in there. It only says what's the minimal that you have to do. Now, imagine that you're going to look at the things that you want to automate or semi-automate. This book's ready to ship. Yeah, somewhere in the computer says like these books should be shipped. Where are they in the warehouse? You've got a big warehouse. Could be handy. Pick up books. No. I don't have the money for a robot. I just started. Put them in a shipping package. Again, no robots. I have to manually add shipping address to the package. Maybe we should find the shipping address somewhere and then stick it onto the package. Deliver package to customers. Nope, no drones, no Amazon, and label orders as delivered so that next day you're not going to deliver the same books to the same customers. Something also you should do something automated or semi-automated. So if you make circles or rectangles around the steps that you want to automate or semi-automate, that is what we call a solution scope. Whereas we're not talking about a solution, but yet this is the solution scope. This is a real way of saying this is what the solution should do, solution scope. Now, if the process is a bit more complicated than a sequence of steps, then you have this. You can draw some circles around it. There you go. That's also a solution scope. So if you take one of those circles and yeah, there you go. And in fact, a business service is what also sometimes is called a business use case. And one of those circles is what's called a product use case. And it will become clear in one of the following slides. We're getting close to the end, so don't worry, we have some time left. Okay, so if we take a part of that process and we put them in requirements, that's how it happens. Simple. It's not complicated, that's how it is. So if we take an overview, we started with those business contexts. And we had some business events, business services. We had some processes, and then which giving the solutions, and then we defined the solution scope, and then we had the requirements. But hey, which requirements? Which requirements? Okay, once again, we have this. We can go, instead of straight going to the solution requirements, we can go through stakeholder requirements and then solution requirements. Don't forget we had requirements categories. Why do I say this? It will become clear. So, for example, if we take, remember those ones, those blue dotted rectangle ellipses, yes, and circles. So, if we take this one and we dive into it, and we would go straight to solution requirements. I look up location of these books in warehouse, a search functionality to find a book, the resulting spot in the warehouse for coordinates, row, shelf, and whatever. Or you would go first into stakeholder requirements. As a warehouse manager, I need to know the location of the books in our warehouse so that I can retrieve them for shipping orders, and then go to this. That would be much better. So not go straight, but go through this. So you would be more exhaustive. And the chance that you forget things are less when you go through the stakeholder requirements. So this or that, it's up to you. You can go straight from the product use cases, those circles in processes, to solution requirements. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, remember this one? Sounds familiar, huh? Well, in fact, stakeholder requirements are always related to business requirements. Okay? But not always to processes. Not always. Remember the shelves or a catalog. It's not always related to a process. Okay. Traceability impact analysis. For example, if you change something here, you might impact a part of the process. If you change something here, it might have a very big impact. So traceability and impact analysis. If you have this overview, it will be easier. I didn't put the stakeholder and solution requirements to just simplify the drawing, but remember those are still there. But it helps you also to do impact analysis. Traceability, that's clear. You go from here to, but it helps you with impact analysis. Now, last poll, different types. So this drawing, okay, how many scopes are mentioned in here? 2, 3, 4, or 5. And you only have 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Rani, can you show me the results? So most of the people thought 4 different types of scope. I haven't seen them so many. And then the second best is all the rest. Okay, you can close it. So what was it? So remember, that was a business scope. Solution scope, oh, well, it was there. And then you have the project scope. If we would develop the full solution scope, we would have implemented the full solution. But in a project, there's budget, there's timing constraints. You might want to have to phase it or are not going to deliver it. Maybe an MVP is that only delivered. So the project scope is really going to tell you what it really will be at the end. So the answer was 3. Now, remember the customer journey? That was only one smart part of it, small part of it. But if you only do customer journey and customer experience exercises and don't think about the rest, so if you want to do those exercises, you will have to be very well aware how the rest functions. The holistic view is important. Conclusion, the BACCM, the different requirement categories, and the overview. That's what is relevant. Those are the takeaways, and you get this also on slides. Okay. And some inspiration. Babok, of course, the BA standards. Sadly, you can't download the version 1 anymore. So if you go to the IBA website, it's immediately version 2. And then mastering the requirements process, this overview. There's a lot of stuff there that I had from Suzanne and James Robertson, but I enhanced it. Yeah. And there you can contact me. And this is a website, and this is my email address. So, questions? One tip, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, leave a little message. Just like, hey, I saw your presentation. I would like to connect. So that would be always nice to find out why people would like to connect. Questions?
So,
I'm going to
Robert Snyder, thank you for joining us, has oh, and but while I'm going through that, if you could go back to your contact page, Patricia would like to, and probably others would like to get your contact information. So Robert had a comment about the sustainability requirements, and he also has a question. So Snyder, I mean, Robert, do you want to speak this? I'm gonna let you get off of mute here, just in case you want to speak to it.
Hi, Robert. Good to see you. Or your photograph.
Am I off mute? You can hear me?
They can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
All right. So question, um, Stefan, would you ever place these deliverables? So I'm trying to quantify how many deliverables you proposed here, and it might be 5 or 6. Would you ever place these on a schedule? You mentioned co-creation. So would you ever place these on a schedule to pace their speed, set expectations about co-creation?
It
And if
depends.
so, would that
It depends.
schedule be complicated or would it look simple?
Well, the thing is, I'm going to show this one because that's my preferred with the different. Up to here, I'm a fan. If you do agile development, I'm a fan of hybrid. I would do this in waterfall, and this so you can do this exercise up to the stakeholder requirements without even thinking about a solution. You might as well. So you can do this exercise whenever, and you might decide, for example, here, if you decide to do only these, some processes will not be completed. So if you want to prioritize, you might prioritize for processes so that you know that you have a full process covered. Otherwise, if you do only this for requirements 3 and 4, this part of the process is still manual. But I would say, where is this version anymore again? This one? Yeah, here. Up to here, you can do whatever. And if you take one stakeholder requirement, you could do some scrumming. Or you can even do scrumming from this. But I wouldn't recommend that. But you can start scrumming from a stakeholder requirement. So you can do the exercise whenever you want, but make sure you have a set of stakeholder requirements who are linked to processes before you start implementing or doing whenever development. So it depends. You want to go in one go, then you could do that. You can do milestones, but you might as well somewhere when it's a bit more quiet do that exercise. For example, when I arrived in the past into a project and they were already in the project models doing the solution requirements, I did on my own the previous thing between on my own moments to consolidate if we were not forgetting any solution requirements. So yeah, I can't reply exactly to your question, but I think you get the picture.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
None so far that I can see in the chat. Does anyone else have any questions?
Because I saw some chats. A lot of Robert.
This was really, really good. I enjoyed this.
Okay.
I too am kind of thinking about applying this in the workplace and how I could um kind of improve on that transition from the process diagramming and kind of visually finding a way to come back to something that allows for that traceability that you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be really valuable.
Yeah. Bye, Tim. Thanks for having you here.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much, Stefan
And then you
Bossuwé.
still had some